Hi, everyone. This is Greg Gilpin, and as you know, I'm doing a series of virtual interviews with music educators all across the country, and my purpose is I just want to rally the troops with positive reinforcements and ideas, considerations that are for and about remote teaching. We keep it very positive. It's a positive platform, and we just all want to really reach out and help and keep everybody inspired. Today, I have a really good friend of mine, Dr. Lynn Brinkmeyer, who is an award-winning music educator and very well known for many reasons in our industry that we'll discover. She'll elaborate a little bit on that, but she has several publications in print, and these are books. The books I'm going to hold up are from Shawnee Press. She has others that she'll probably make mention. Rhythm Rescue, which is one of my favorites. A lot of ideas, as you can see. I've got lots of notes and things in it that I use. She did Wander the World with Warm-Ups, which is a wonderful resource using bits of multicultural pieces she learned through all her travels, and she made warm-ups out of those. And then there's a new one, which I'll have her hold up. I only have this, but it is Wander the USA with Warm-Ups. And these are thank you, Lynn. And these are pieces that you'll find like in our own country here, North America, and they're not just American folk songs, but they're also indigenous pieces, and she'll talk a little bit about that, I'm sure. I've known and worked with Lynn now for quite a few years, and I am constantly inspired by her presentations every time that I see her work in a convention, and usually that's what develops a book later on. And I just find everything she does is useful and inspiring and always a springboard for my own creativity. I love it. And I think that is so important for teachers to have. So hello, Lynn. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. I felt like Van White.
Yes, very good. I think so. You just need the shoulder pads or something. But other than that, you're doing great. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate the time. I know you're teaching. Would you maybe elaborate a little bit about what you do and who you are, what you've been doing, what you've done, a few of your accomplishments, because you have many.
Well, I teach at Texas State University. I'm the director of choral music education. That's one of the hats. Another hat is I'm associate director half-time as well. And I guess my big claim to fame is that I was MENC NAfME past president, and that's one of the opportunities that allowed me to travel all around the country and get to know so many people like Greg and work with him, which was quite a pleasure, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. So I'll talk about my classes and stuff later on. I want to just sit and talk about me right now.
Oh, that's okay. I'm telling you, everyone look up her bio. It'll make you go to your knees like, oh my gosh, how did you get all that done? That's awesome. What's your, your teaching, what's your current situation?
Well, we have started sheltering in place here in Central Texas and at Texas State University in mid-May. And so our spring
mid-March?
I'm sorry, mid-March, pardon me, I haven't got to May yet. We had 2 weeks spring break, so the students did, and the faculty had 1 week that we came back and started preparing classes. And so we've actually been teaching actual remote classes for a week and a half. So we're just gaining momentum and getting started. And so some of my classes I've only met once, some I've met twice, and so that, I think I can. That's sort of where we are. My youth chorus that I have, it's kids 6 through 18. We haven't had a meeting. Our first meeting is going to be Monday night. We've had emails and things like that. So we're just getting started in all of this remote fun. So
yeah, so you're gonna learn a lot. We may have to have you back, and then you can give us a new perspective on your situation.
Learning curve is that way, exactly.
Yeah, everybody's is, that's for sure. With what you've been doing, so far, what have you learned about your own teaching from this experience? Or what you're learning?
The first thing I learned was I don't know very much about technology, even though I thought I knew something. And I'm pretty good at Zoom now. I've had the opportunity to hone my skills in Zoom meetings and Zoom conference calls. And My choral methods class is choral methods / vocal lit. That one is stretching me, which is really good, and I'm learning from my students because at this time in the semester, our students are peer teaching each other on a typical semester. We're peer teaching each other. They are out in the schools. They're teaching middle school students, high school students, and it's more engagement and them doing very little lecture. Well, now we have this situation where it's harder for them to do that type of engagement, and they can't get out into the schools. And some of the schools are having remote classes. They don't want to guest in on their remote classes because they've got so much going on already on their own. So it's been an opportunity for me to stretch what I know and then also think creative to keep the students as engaged as possible in that class. One of the ways we did this last week is that I really focus a lot on a little bit of teacher talk and a whole lot of students doing. So we had every student in the class do a 2-minute warm-up with absolutely no teacher talk. And so everything they did was body percussion or nonverbal, and they could use a keyboard if they wanted to play a riff, but most of them were doing all kinds of things with sounds and sirens and stuff like that. And so we had every student do a 2-minute, and I timed them so that they were engaging the students, and then we had a reflection about how much you can get done in 2 minutes, how much of a warm-up that can happen without the teacher talking and explaining all these things.
Yeah.
And it just helps focus the body and the brain instead of having to, I'm moving and I'm listening to the teacher and those types of things. And another thing that we did too is we're continuing some of the collaboration because we do collaborative projects. And one of the ones we're doing is that the students are working together on creating a middle school program and a high school program. So they're selecting the literature, they're deciding which ensembles they have in their program, they're deciding when that piece is. Is it going to be in the beginning of the year? Is a holiday piece? Is it end of the year? And so they're putting those programs together because they can do that collaborative. And so I've sent them to different websites where they can, if they have a lot of scores themselves, but that may not be appropriate for the programs they're making. So we're continuing with those types of things. And then a change in a project that I had them do is, instead of going out into the schools, because that's not possible right now, they are watching videos, and there's all kinds of videos from children and high school, middle school students on YouTube to find a video of a choir that is what you might consider average, that there's maybe need to work on some tone and things like that. And they put on the clinician hat. They watch that video, and then they create a lesson plan and talk about the concepts and a rationale why they chose those lessons, or why they chose those concepts. And so they are the clinician. How can they help those students? What would they do if they walked in here and they had 30 minutes so that students could walk away?
That's great.
So that's about as creative as I've gotten right now.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, even, I know you teach on the university level, but, teachers that are middle school, high school, that is a great creative, springboard there where you could have your students, first of all, and I've said this to several different teachers, they've asked, and I go, why don't you have your students teach you? Let's find out what they know and do a warm up. Hey, I want you to warm me up this morning. You got 2 minutes. What are you going to do? And have them, it's a great assessment tool, but I love that. What are you going to do? And I love the idea, we don't want to warm up over, definitely not past 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Remember, they're young and they don't need it as much, but the warm up happens throughout the rehearsal because you're doing different things. But I love that. There's so much you can do in 2 minutes. There's a lot of learning you can do. So those are all great ideas, even when you're teaching middle school and high school, not just university level. But I love putting the teaching on their back and going, why don't you teach me today? I want to know, that's great. Well, what have you discovered about your students learning and, as they're doing this?
I will say that these students that I'm working with, both in my choral ensemble and my choral lit class, they're resilient, they're dedicated, and they want so badly to learn everything they can. They're they're sponges. Yeah. And I hear people sometimes complain about millennials and all those millennials, and I'm like, I'm not in the same world you're in. The millennials I know are amazing. They're already better teachers graduating from university than I was till about my third year. It's amazing how good they are. And
Well,
now,
they got a good teacher.
well, I thank you for that. I do believe that there are other millennials that are doing just as well from other universities as well.
Absolutely.
They are overwhelmed, and some of them have lost their jobs, some of them are in high-risk jobs, and some of them are taking care of their siblings. And so one of the things that I have done to hopefully adjust to that is we have set up an individualized meeting with every single student. I have a phone call with them that's private, and asking them things like, are you safe where you live? Do you have enough food? Are you healthy? Are all your family members healthy? And some of them are dealing with some of their family members are ill. And just finding out, so what is overwhelming you? How do we adapt these assignments so that they can fit where the time frame you have and the energy and all the other assignments, because they're all finding out there's more work than what they had before, because people are adding more paperwork, more computer work, that type of thing. Lots of more research papers when things couldn't happen. And so that is, they're embracing it, and I'm doing my best to find a way that it serves them so that they walk away feeling good about the curriculum and, I still learned, and they didn't just tread water during this time, but they're still learning at the pace that they have the energy to learn.
Right.
That's one thing, but they're great students, and I just adore them.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I think that we've talked in several of these interviews about the leaders are rising to, you're finding out who their leaders are, who the followers are, who the students you discover, wow, I've got a great relationship with them. I didn't realize that, or wow, I need to work on my relationship with some of these students like this. But yeah, we're all learning lots of things with this remote teaching. That's definitely the case. Do you have you had a challenge that you're like, wow, I don't know how to do this? I know one teacher that I talked to, they were talking about, even if they did have challenges, they realized that their kids are hungry to connect. And when she did her first Zoom, with a bunch of them, they just wanted to talk. And they wanted to talk to their friends, and they were all in one group. And I'm going, that's learning, that's important right now. And will help with the learning later. I might go to quit talking, but all those things, when you talked about that with Zooming, it's great,
Well, the same thing happened to me with the first Zoom meeting I had, both with Choral and with my choir Aurora Voce. All we did was that when I clicked on Zoom and it popped in, everybody just cheered, and yay!
Oh.
At each other. Some people are crying. I'm fighting back tears because I was so emotional, so happy to see them. It was so hard to hang up, because I just didn't want to stop that connection. And so we just had every person talk about where they were. Most of them are at home. Not everyone is at home with their parents. And dogs were jumping on their lap, and my cats walking across on the keyboard. And we're just being real and building that community before we could even start thinking about what's the academic, responsibilities for the rest of this semester. Yeah. And then with the women's choir, the Aurora Voce, that we sang a song that Will Schmid taught me, Give Light. And because of Zoom and all the delayed internet and those things like that, it's not possible to sing everything perfectly together. So we would start a phrase, and then we'd mash up at the end. And then we'd start another phrase and mash up at the end. And we got all the way to the end. I said, that sounded just like our first rehearsal, didn't it?
That's great. We need to laugh. That's great. Do you think... what do you think your rehearsals and your classes are going to be like in the fall when you all come back together? Do you think there'll be a big change?
I think, well, of course, I think it's just going to be a big joyful fest, is because we're going to be so excited. I'm fortunate with the women that are in Aurora Voce. It's an audition group. Many of them, the majority of them, are freshmen. They probably will go on to another ensemble that's a higher level ensemble. I mean, we have layered ensembles and in a mixed ensemble probably. Yet they're still going to have community, because we have a grad assistant with us this semester, and he has a recital coming up that was canceled because of all of this. So he postponed his recital until August. And we are going to have a pickup rehearsal. Now he's going to do some sectionals online, but we're going to have a pickup rehearsal in August, spend all day together, one day, have his recital. So they still get to sing 2 of the pieces that we've learned this semester and sing. They were so excited when we made that announcement. So that, I know not every ensemble gets to do that, but even so, I still get to have a little bit of community with that one choir, because school starts, we're not going to be the same ensembles anymore, but it's so exhilarating to find that we still can have a little bit of community with that and still be the same group.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe have a little bit of closure. I know a lot of teachers are missing the closure of the end of the year.
Yes.
And that's
the celebration of graduating, those types of things. Absolutely.
We're so emotional in the arts, The math teacher may not have as much emotion about I don't know, but I know a music teacher, they want that. So, last thing, do you have any additional, little tips or things that might help the teacher?
I did write down a few tips, because I'm so fortunate, because I have students that are fabulous student assistants with my youth course, and they're student teaching. And so I'm learning from them because they're learning from their master teachers. And so I thought about this. One thing we're going to do on Monday night with my youth course is we're going to have a scavenger hunt. And I'm going to give them, of course, I'll do some non-teacher talk warm-ups first to get them focused. And then they have 45 seconds to go find a hat, any kind of hat. I have a safari hat, I'll put it on. They have 45 seconds to find something wood that they can tap together. I'll have chopsticks to show them. It can be pencils, it can be anything. Something metal, something that is a shaker, maybe it's a jar of vitamins, I don't know, and then something to drum on, even if it's a table. I'm going to do echo improvisation, body percussion, those types of things, and then I'm going to play some songs that they've been singing, and so that they can sing along, and then they can play. And so that's what we're going to do for the very first one. And then something else I'd shared with you before is I'm also going to teach "Oh Watch the Stars," because that's a song that, and there are lots of songs that you can do. Oh, watch the stars, oh, watch the stars. And you can have this echo and overlapping of sound. And then after we sing a couple of verses, invite the students, you create a verse. Maybe I'll, oh, watch the dogs, see how they howl, or whatever, and have them learn a verse, or make up one themselves, and then they teach the rest of the choir. And so that's just a couple of ideas that we're planning on Monday night.
That's wonderful. Oh, Lynn, that goes from elementary all the way to university. I love the scavenger hunt idea. And then while you're doing that, you're like, I don't have drumsticks here, but you're keeping the time and the tempo.
Yes. Oh, I'm hoping I can download that clock, that because I know that there is an app that you can do and download. I have a girlfriend that knows how to do that, because that would be great if they could just see that timer. And when my student teacher, she's the one that came up with this idea, Sarah Trogdon, and then Melissa Lacey, I want to give them credit for that. But she said that the parents called and said, what did you do to our kids? They're running all over the house, screaming and yelling and going crazy.
That's right.
They were engaged. That was the most important thing. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I think that is important. I had another teacher say, I get them away from the computer screen to do some things, so they're not just sitting there the whole time. That's a great idea. Oh my gosh, I get so many takeaways from this, Lynn. Thank you. This was great. It's going to be so helpful to everybody. And I'm honored that you took the time to share with all of us today. And I thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to tell all the teachers, thank you for caring about your kids and sharing your music, because we all need it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll do this again.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.